ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine.
You've tested a lot of lights over the years, right? And you've had a lot of experience with different brands of lights and different types of lighting. If you were starting an SPS dominant tank today, what would be your choice for lights?
Oh,
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
unequivocally, it would be 250 watt Iwasaki metal halides in a giant reflector for
there you
each
go,
lamp.
dude. Yeah, metal halides rule still.
With pulse start. I mean, if no other consideration for power, heat, size over the aquarium's controllability, as we're talking about sheer sun replication, Iwasaki 65K, pulse start ballast with a giant reflector. With a ring of like blue and royal blue LEDs just magically built into the reflector to, give it a little blue spice to it. Unequivocally, yeah, that would be the one. If there's like no holds barred, for sure. But with cost of running them and acquiring the bulbs and the size and the heat, obviously that's not the first choice. But goodness, I mean, here's a couple ideas. Like a couple ideas come to mind, right? The GNC Blu-ray Pro. First of all, you know what? I'm going to be answering this question for about 15 minutes. First of all, I get every light for free, right? Or I'm sponsored to review that light. So in my mind, they're all on the same, starting at the same platform, on the same foundation, right? Everything just shows up here at the studio and I test it and I work it, right? So if you want to say, oh, whatever, he's sponsored, like, okay, but I'm also sponsored by all the other companies. So what do you want? To me, that makes it less biased. That's one thing. Two, there's not enough conversation about mixing LED lights, right? I think there wasn't too long ago, I ran across a reef tank where some guy had AIs and radions, right? So using the radions to just, have that sheer horsepower and punch, and then you have AIs or Kessel for more punch, deepened penetration inside the aquarium, right? So obviously the best of all worlds would be probably a combination of radions with hydras or radions with Kessel, right? Because you have complementary colors, because Ecotech is probably using very similar LED colors in the hydras as they are in the radions. If you want a ton of just overlap, like I discussed earlier, the GNC Blu-ray Pro from GNC Italia, it's a fantastic machine. It is everything that the Sky was trying to do without cutting corners. I think the Blu-ray Pro is 488 LEDs running at 1/4 watts when just with zero optics. That thing is just a field of light without the diffuser like they had to do on the Sky. But that one has a really terrible controller. Like you have to connect to it via Wi-Fi every single time and use like a 15-year-old web server. You push a button and you have to wait. Right, you have to push it as when you're increasing the intensity, you change the program. The acro optics that are made locally in Boulder, that's the only light that's engineered, designed, made, and sold by an engineer. That light is so overbuilt. It just it will outlast generation after generation. Individual lens for every single LED, just a huge covering, but it's expensive and it's not practical. And the first generation weighed like 64 pounds because they had a stainless steel chassis to it, And so I just want everybody to know one of my favorite tanks in the studio right now is my UNS aquarium that I set up right around New Year's with a canister filter that was uncycled. I got a $50 Amazon light on it. It's got a giant fox coral, a giant elegance coral, and a disc coral on the bottom. And there are no fluorescent colors, but every time I look at that tank and think of just how dead simple it is and how nothing can actually go wrong on that tank, that one for me is super rewarding. But to be honest, you use reef leads, radions, hydras. It's how you use them, man. It's like we shouldn't have this conversation about like F1 race cars. It's like, ooh, what race car is going to win the race? It's not that. It's the driver.